Welcome to This Explainer. Grab a seat and pull up a metaphorical log to the fire, because today we are embarking on a journey straight into the dark, incredibly atmospheric, and just utterly fascinating world of Mike Mignola's comic masterpiece, Hellboy. If you enjoy a good dark fairy tale told around a campfire, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to explore exactly how Mignola uses these brilliant, bite-sized stories to build up a massive Gothic mythology that feels somehow ancient, yet surprisingly intimate at the same time.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To truly get what makes Hellboy so special, we kind of have to look past the macro narrative, the grand world-ending events, and instead look closely into the shadows. We're going to answer this question by analyzing how Mignola constructs his entire universe. And spoiler alert, it's not just with dialogue, it's through a highly distinct visual style and a heavy reliance on short, super impactful encounters. As we'll see, these seemingly minor, spooky campfire tales actually snowball into massive, world-altering lore.
Section 1. Shadows of German Expressionism.
So before we even touch the narrative, we have to talk about how this world actually looks. Mignola's work is heavily influenced by German Expressionism. Basically, it's an art style that relies on really stark contrasts and heavy shadows to convey deep emotion and this feeling of subterranean dread. And right off the bat, this is definitely not your standard superhero comic aesthetic. By utilizing these high-contrast blacks and jagged, oppressive shapes, he establishes this pervasive sense of quiet horror. The darkness isn't just an absence of light here, it's a literal physical presence on the page that totally grounds that subterranean dread.
Think about your average superhero comic for a second, right? You usually get bright, super intricate line work that details every single muscle, every background skyscraper, leaving absolutely nothing to the imagination. But Mignola goes the complete opposite route. He uses heavy blacks, jagged edges, and he deliberately omits details. By strategically leaving things out of those small atmospheric panels, he essentially forces your mind to fill in the terrifying dark. And it turns out, what your brain imagines hiding in those shadows is way scarier than anything he could have actually drawn on the page.
Section 2. Irish Folklore Meets Working Class.
Let's look at how Mignola adapts global mythology. A perfect example is the short story The Corpse. It takes the traditional Irish folk motif, specifically a man forced to carry a restless spirit, and completely flips the tone on its head. Traditional legends usually give us this ethereal, ancient tone where the hero is just a helpless victim of fate, completely bound by strict magical rules. But Hellboy? He injects this incredibly modern grounding into it. Our hero isn't a victim. He's this blue-collar, monster-punching working man who approaches ancient, terrifying magic with a heavy sigh and an even heavier right hand. He's literally dragging classic horror kicking and screaming into the modern world.
Section 3. The Power of Short Stories.
While the multi-issue arcs definitely drive the big picture forward, the true structural genius of this series lies in the shorter encounters. It's a total snowball effect. It almost always kicks off with step 1, a brief, spooky encounter that feels like an isolated little fairy tale. Then comes step 2, which is where the organic world building happens, mostly through those quiet, shadow-heavy panels we talked about. It fleshes out the universe naturally, without dumping massive amounts of exposition on you. But here's the real kicker. Step 3. These tiny little tales inevitably lead to climactic, apocalyptic consequences. He's building this massive mythology from the ground up, literally one campfire tale at a time.
Section 4. Minor Roles to Vital Pillars.
In this Gothic noir universe, choices have serious, lasting weight, and minor characters organically evolve into incredibly important figures. We can track this evolution perfectly by looking at Alice Monaghan. She starts off as simply a stolen changeling infant in a very early, very minor short story. Later on, we learn she survives an encounter with the changeling Gruagach, who, by the way, is another minor character that inadvertently snowballs into a massive antagonist. And finally, as an adult, Alice grows into a vital pillar of the overarching grand struggle. Mignola plants these tiny seeds in his short stories and just lets his characters evolve naturally over decades of publication. It's brilliant.
Section 5. The Rejection of Destiny. Alice's incredible evolution from a victim in a fairy tale to a driver of her own fate is actually a thematic mirror to our main character's core struggle. At its absolute heart, Hellboy is about a protagonist who functions as an anti-myth. Think about it. He was born a demon, destined to literally end the world, but he was raised with a fundamentally human heart. And because of that grounding, he actively refuses to succumb to the apocalyptic prophecies surrounding his origin. He acts as this massive disruptive force against fate itself, firmly asserting his identity as just a working man hero doing his job. So the really crucial point here is that he's constantly smashing these ancient myths and asserting his own identity as a blue-collar, working-man hero. That working-man ethos, that stubborn, grounded human persistence, is honestly his ultimate weapon. It's way more powerful than his giant stone hand, for sure. By treating ancient, world-ending lore like it's just a regular Tuesday at the office, he completely strips the myth of its power and claims his own destiny.
Which brings us right back here, to the dying embers of our dark campfire explainer. Mignola's world uses these heavy shadows and ancient myths to ask a very modern, deeply human question. When confronted with the narratives that others try to force upon you, what will you actually do? Will you succumb to the destiny written in the shadows? Or smash the myth to forge your own path? I really hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity to explore more of Mignola's incredible world for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep learning.